Cheers and welcome, my friends. I'm Horath Drak, and this is the Local Gods podcast, the gaming and tech news podcast. I'm here with my co-host, Spot.
Hello.
Hey, Spot. What have you been doing this past week?
Last week, surprise, I've been working. Yeah, I got to play a little bit of Avorion. Is it Avorion?
Avorion.
Avorion, thank you.
It is done by a German developer, so...
Oh, okay. I was just about to make the joke that you speak shitty English when the German guy corrects you on your English. Although I have actually found that most foreign English speakers speak English better than the average American, which isn't saying much.
We learn it by the rules.
So, yeah, I've been doing that. I've been watching. I mentioned in the last show that my fiance's been playing Black Desert, and it's got to that point where I actually look over when she's playing, and I'm usually working, and I see places that look really awesome, but I've never seen before, even with all the playing I did before, and I'm like, damn it. So, yeah.
So she's further than you.
Oh, yeah. Way far. Yeah, she's like level 53 or something.
What's the max level?
Honestly, these days, I don't know. I think the last time I checked, it was 55, I think. But I think that they've actually raised the cap.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so yeah, I've been doing that. I've been depressed that my 1080 Ti hasn't shown up because I can't play Mass Effect right now. And you have something on the list to talk about Mass Effect. And I'm like, nope, not reading that article. So yeah, that's pretty much what I've been doing and working. Yes. Oh, I've been doing a little bit of hardware stuff. I recently upgraded our stuff in our main living area. Not upgraded, we didn't have any because we moved last August, and so everything out there is like Wi-Fi and stuff, and fuck Wi-Fi. So I actually like sat down the other night and pulled out my Cat 5 network cable and all my connectors and crimper tool and stuff, and I started making network cables. So now all the stuff, my smart television and all that stuff, it's all running wired, and it's awesome. Yes, it's awesome.
Screw Wi-Fi.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I also found out that I could upgrade my internet connection from 25 megabit down to 200 for $13 more a month, which is awesome.
What's your up speed?
Oh, yeah. No. This is America. It's still 5. The only way to get anything above 5 and not have a business account is to get Verizon Fios, which is very limited availability.
Okay.
Yep, sucks.
Yeah, I'm paying for business here, business connection. I got 12 up and 100 down, which is the best you can get in the country. Oh
wow, yeah. Here, if you go business, I think that they'll give you tit for tat. So I think that like if I was paying for the 200, I'd get 200 up in most cases. But the difference in price is that like right now we're on a 1-year introductory plan. So right now, I think even the undiscounted rate for the 200 down, 5 up is like $75 a month, and which I know is high compared to a lot of places. But to get 200 down, 200 up business would be about $600 a month.
Holy!
So it's just not worth it.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, Twitch won't allow you to go upwards of 2 anyways, right? For streaming and stuff. They are limiting you. So the only difference that it really makes is the speed that you can upload your Let's Play videos and stuff to YouTube.
Right. Anyway, that's what I've been doing. What have you been doing?
Yeah, I've also been playing a lot of Avorion. I actually, at this point, I just have to make a sort of a Let's Play series for the channel so that I can sort of feign that I'm using this time productively.
So you can justify it?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I spent so much time. I had an amazing thing happen. So Avorion is a sci-fi sandbox thing where you can build spaceships and stations and all of that out of different materials that you find in a galaxy that you can mine or that you can salvage from ships and all that. Mm-hmm. The closer you get to the center of the galaxy, the higher value the materials are that you find. And I've been sort of trying to make my way through the center of the galaxy, bit by bit, sort of trying to mine asteroids. And if you deviate from the trodden path, so sectors are sort of connected by these warp gates. But you also have a warp drive that sort of lets you travel outside of these warp gate sectors. And there you can find sort of high-level asteroids with huge amount of valuable metals. What happened to me yesterday was that I came into a sector full of valuable stuff, and it already belonged to one faction. And then a fleet of another faction warped in, started fighting the existing faction in the thing. Then pirates warped in, and then the alien ships also warped in. And then it was a huge battle, all these guys against each other in a free-for-all. And I myself, the worm of space, in between all these spaceships, trying to scoop up valuable materials and all the upgrades and stuff that they dropped.
That's awesome. It's awesome that can happen. And you're like, guys, I'm trying to work here. Come on.
Yeah.
That's great. Awesome. So have you just been playing that, and then your normal series?
Yeah, my normal series, RimWorld, Hegemony, and stuff. But this week is gonna be particularly busy. So I'm kind of happy I actually managed to finish my Crusader King series today. Or at least I recorded it to the end. So trying to sort of get rid of current series for upcoming things.
Yeah. Did your guy eat anyone else?
Cannibal actually died. Now the spawn of Satan, his son is ruling. The literal son of Satan.
As it should be. I would like just to throw out that I find it hilarious that the actual podcast itself and the first episode from last week actually got approved on iTunes and Google Play today. So yay, that's awesome. I thought it was hilarious that due to the name Local Gods, which I haven't been like completely okay settled with until not this moment, but about an hour ago, when I noticed that when you search Local Gods, it gets listed along with all of these religious podcasts. And I thought it was hilarious that like the first 10 minutes of our first episode is talking about devil worshipping cannibals.
Perfect.
Yes. Success. So that's really about it. Awesome.
I'm sure that won't offend anyone.
No, not at all. That's so funny. So I'll let you pick the first one off the list.
What am I gonna pick? I mean,
decisions.
We gotta comment on Jim Sterling and the death threats and the DDoS attacks that he got.
Yes.
Wait for it. 7 out of 10 review for Zelda.
What type of world do we live in, man? It's just crazy.
Apparently, people got real mad, and from what I gather, this is the kicker. Apparently, because he's been around for so long, he was with Destructoid previously. He's a reviewer with his own channel, and it's being funded by Patreon.
In his very own style, let's just say.
Yeah, right. He's sort of depicting a fascistic megalomaniac leader type a guy that is always preaching from his lectern and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Ironically,
and it's hilarious. Yeah.
Ironically, his review reduced the Metacritic rate of Zelda from 98 to 97, and that is what got people foaming at the mouth, or some people, and then they DDoSed his site.
Of course they did. It's first of all, let's take Jim Sterling out of the picture for just a moment and just say that Metacritic is a complete load of bullshit anyway. Like across the board. Their algorithms are bullshit. How much people care about what they like literally, and this has been stated multiple times. I think it's actually stated in the Polygon article, but like Metacritic ratings literally impact what people get to keep their jobs at times and bonuses they get and things like that. We've seen that with other things. I think it's Ubisoft has a problem with paying too much attention to Metacritic scores in the past. Mm-hmm. But yeah, going back to the Jim Sterling thing. That's another thing about Metacritic is that they rank users, normal people, we'll say probably from Metacritic's point of view, the drivel of the population with the royalty of the population, which would be reviewers, and how they actually decide who is an actual reviewer and who is a peasant is kind of unknown at times. And so, yeah, I find the entire thing to be bullshit. Like the whole thing, it's bullshit from the angle that someone would get their site DDoSed for having an opinion, especially when their opinion is like the style of his opinion is well established. And like his opinions, actually, he comes up with some really great stuff, right? It's not that he makes shit up. He tends to focus on the bad stuff, and there's always bad stuff in any title. Then you have Metacritic, which is like Jim Sterling isn't the issue here. Metacritic is the issue, where they, first of all, they have a really jacked up rating algorithm, as I said, and also they would take someone's review like Jim Sterling and they would apply it in the exact same way as, I'm going to say more balanced, as in, he focuses on the negative, more balanced reviews from other royalty. But the biggest deal is how people react to it,
Yeah, the reaction of the people is actually, it's the usual internet stuff, right? You're gonna annoy one group or the other that's gonna come at you with pitchforks raised and frothing.
Yep.
You can go really deep into the rabbit hole here. Like, can you even sort of tell the worth of a game with a score, with a numerical value? Total Biscuit is not royalty, but I would actually give a lot of value to his opinions. But he's not going to appear there because he doesn't have a website where he posts his application, his review, and he also doesn't have a score per se. So he doesn't exist, even though his voice can shift thousands of copies. Total Biscuit effect. Correct.
He never even claims to be a reviewer, right? He never claims to actually do reviews.
Yeah, he does first impressions, he says.
Right, yeah.
But even if you go up the rabbit hole, you have developers like Obsidian losing their bonus for Fallout New Vegas because they missed the Metacritic score by 1 point that they needed. That was written in their contract.
Yeah, that's the bullshit.
Yeah, but that is also, I think, what gets people so mad about this thing, because they've seen the Metacritic score sort of impact people. Now they see that done too. Nintendo has put all their love and soul into this, and that gets them so mad.
Right.
Personally, there's no love lost between me and Nintendo. I don't care about them.
Or Sega.
Or Sega. Although, I mean...
Yeah, Nintendo's worse. They're far worse.
Yeah, and Sega has always been... The western part of Sega is okay. Like, Sega of America and these guys, they are fine. Sega Japan are the crazy
Damn
people.
Asians. No, I'm just joking. Anyway...
And that has always been the case ever since Sega was basically starting with their consoles and stuff. They've always been fighting, right? The American division and the Japanese division have sort of been blockading each other. And
yeah, which is funny because usually you would expect anything to do with like copyright control and intellectual property, the most hardcore positions to come out of America, not from somewhere else. So
yeah,
which is where my Asians comment came from. It was sarcasm. All right, so I think we've beat this horse enough. So tell me about. So, Martin over at Paradox has promised Mercedes Romero and Blorg body pillows. Now, the first time I actually heard, I've been working, remember, right? I've been working. If I remember correctly, the Blorg were a actual species in one of the Paradox, like, Wednesday plays or whatever. And the first time I heard actually the name Mercedes Romero was actually our friend, and I'm not going to butcher his name trying to pronounce it, but the composer for a lot of the Paradox stuff, which you can probably pronounce for me.
Andreas Waldetoft.
See, if I would have tried that, literally blood would have started coming out of my nose. So the first time I heard her name was when they released the gorgeous piece he did for the new Stellaris expansion on YouTube with the orchestral stuff, and I'm like, who is this person? And so I look it up and I find out this name, and so you'll have to fill me in, please.
Yeah, all right. So Martin Onward is the project lead on Stellaris, right? So we got Stellaris, and you can sort of create your population there. Pre-release, before the game came out, Martin Onward did a couple of live streams together with the community manager, and they created the people of the Blorg, tube-like mushrooms, very, very ugly in a way, and their theme was they were pacifists.
So it was a custom civilization, right?
Yeah, exactly. And Mercedes Romero was the leader of this civilization, if I remember correctly. And the theme of the Blorg was we're super ugly, but we want to befriend everyone. We want to be friends with everyone, and they befriend you by waging war against you.
Okay, and that's kind of a joke because in Stellaris, if you're really ugly, you actually get a negative opinion modifier, right? With other races. Yeah. Okay.
We had a tweet retweeted 1,000 times, and now we're gonna get Blorg body pillows. I guess as some sort of real merchandise. So you get your own space mushroom.
That's disturbing on a level I can identify with.
Yeah, I just thought it'd be nice to have that in here. That's a typical awesome. Paradox thing.
Well, yes. And if any of you haven't seen it already, and we'll list it in the show notes. And by the way, we need to come up with a system for us to like keep a list of shit we talk about in the show that needs to go in the show notes. We're still getting set up on the podcast here, guys. There is the actual piece of music that I mentioned previously. There's a track on the soundtrack for the upcoming Stellaris expansion Utopia called, what is it? In Memory of MR, I believe is what it's called. Right. Yeah. And it's in memory of Mercedes Romero. Yeah. And it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. Yeah. Of course, because it's him who I won't offend him by trying to pronounce his name.
It's not that difficult. Try it with me. Waldetoft. Yeah, that was pretty good.
Welcome to Local Gods, where we do foreign language.
Repeat after me.
Now, how many words is that?
1.
Oh, it's just 1? Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's his last name.
Is that because it's not German?
No, don't think so. I think it's 2 words together to 1. I think Wald
See,
is,
told you. I told you.
Not sure what Toft is in Swedish.
They learned far too much from the Germans.
Yeah.
It's like, why have 5 words when we can have 1? All right. So, you want to move on to the Civ 6 stuff?
Yeah, that one's going to be quick. So Civ 6 has now a demo out. When's the last time you've played a demo, Bot?
What is it? Is it like 40 turns, I think, the demo? I think it's 40 turns.
Yeah, I think so.
The last time I played a demo, Well, I have to tell you, I'm pro demos. The last time I played a demo was, wow, it's been a while. But yeah. I sometimes acquire copies of games and play them for like half an hour before I actually buy them because the game doesn't have a fucking demo. Seriously, like, and then I'll buy them.
You acquire them.
I acquire them. You know, friends have copies. You can borrow. You know, things like that.
Right.
Yeah. No, but like my whole thing is that I don't want to spend, $50 or $60 on a game that's gonna blow. I've had that happen many times. So I have acquired a game before, spent literally like 30 to 45 minutes with it, and been like, no, and uninstalled it, or been like, okay, I like this, and went and bought it.
Do you have to do that still? Now that Steam has a refund policy that allows you to play 2 hours and still return it.
Here's my thing about that. I have this sneaking suspicion. I've only ever refunded anything on Steam one time. I'm not going to tell you what it was because you'll be like, what? But no, I apologize.
No, I know what you refunded.
Do you? What do you think I refunded?
Elite Dangerous.
Did I tell you that?
Yeah.
Shit. Actually, I didn't refund Elite Dangerous because it's a bad game, just so anyone doesn't freak out. I refunded Elite Dangerous because I was very limited on money at the time, and I got into it and I was like, this is a really amazing game that is going to take a ridiculous amount of time for me to get enough enjoyment out of, right? Which I like games like that, but I just had no time whatsoever, and so I refunded it. I actually have refunded one other game, and that was actually, I bought on a sale, I bought Rome 2 Total War, and it just would not run. It just honestly would not run. I would go through the very first battle, and I'd get like halfway through it, and it would just lock up, and so I refunded that as well. Anyway, I have a sneaking suspicion, because this is what I would do. If you refund stuff all the time, Steam is going to get to a point to where they won't refund stuff as easy to you.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, demos...
Because the thing is, I don't think Steam intends that service to be used as a demo service.
That is what it should be, shouldn't it?
I agree completely.
I'd like to see that as a system, not just a courtesy from Steam, but something where you can give back broken shit if it's actually broken. But yeah, I agree. I'm
not just because it's broken. That I completely agree with. But I think that it should be a thing of, I just don't like this.
Yeah, that as well. No, that as well, yes.
Which is a different thing, but still valid.
I mean, it depends a bit on the game time. I mean, I think 2 hours is a fine restriction. If you go much above that, you can actually go to the point where you can play through the game.
Right, actually,
give it back.
I'll say that as far as demos are concerned, I think demos are a horrible example of how well a game runs, because a demo is something that's prepped as a demo. It's a separate code base in most cases. You're not going to download a 30 gig payload for a 30-minute experience. They're not going to make you do that. So that's a horrible experience for how a game runs. But I think for the most part, with exception, I'm sure, the demo will give you a good idea of the gameplay loop, and if you're going to enjoy that gameplay loop, which I think is what it should do. I think that as far as technical problems, those are something that you should have the refund policy in place. But yes, I like demos a lot. And I think that it's very smart for 2K to do this with Civ, and they should have done it before.
So what say you to the restriction? 40 turns? Is that fine?
I think that really completely depends on like the game or like the time period. I think 40 turns is probably that's a good, for me, that's probably a good 45 minutes to an hour in a Civ game at the beginning. I mean, it's enough for you to see. They probably want you to see, especially existing Civ players, they want you to see how the game runs. Also, Civ's always been great, but in the past, Civ has really matured only like after the first expansion goes on, right? And Civ 6 is, it still has some issues, but it significantly is a more whole package than past Civs have been before the first expansion. So they're probably trying to show people that as well. But yeah, so no, I think it's great.
Yeah, I'm also all for demos. The last demo I really played is, I think, the Mountain Blade demo back in, when was it, 2007, I think.
Mountain Blade is not a game that you want to release a demo for.
Actually, the game was restricted to level 8, so you could play any character to level 8, and then you had to activate it or start a new character.
Oh, okay.
And I played that demo all night and all day.
Really? Oh, well, that's awesome.
And then
Although
I drove into the city and bought the full version.
Oh, well, there you go. You drove into the city? Wow, you're old. Okay. So anyway.
Thanks for reminding me. Thanks.
I'm pretty sure I'm older than you. But that's great. But no, because this is not a segue whatsoever. As an example, some games just wouldn't work for that. For example, if you had to pay for it, a demo of Dwarf Fortress would be useless, right?
Yeah.
Completely useless.
You could scratch the surface of the surface.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of Dwarf Fortress,
smooth, very smooth.
There was a great one of several interviews. I don't think they've released the others yet on PC Gamer about it was an interview with Tarn Adams about the myth and magical systems in Dwarf Fortress. And I'm one of those guys that doesn't have enough time to play Dwarf Fortress very much. I played on stream, but I love the concept and I love reading about the mechanics of Dwarf Fortress because they're so hardcore and so interesting. Actually, I will let you run with this and then I'll come back.
Yeah, you sent me that. You sent me that article, and I'm always miffed when magic systems seem too random in books, in fantasy stuff, and in games. And it looks like Dwarf Fortress is getting a magic system that is anything but haphazard. So they're basically going to create a complete creation mythos for every world, and then you have that sort of determines the kind of magic and the amount of magic that exists in the world, and then that has sort of a trickle down effect. So you have the god X creates the world in that and that fashion, and then that sect appears, and then that race is created, and all that. So that's really cool, but that's gonna change the game a lot. It might not be Dwarf Fortress at the end of it.
Yeah, it's gonna be massive. It sounds like what they're trying to build is, which Dwarf Fortress is like this already. Well, first of all, if you're not familiar with Dwarf Fortress or you've played Dwarf Fortress but you don't get this, we'll use the cat example. In a lot of video games, if you're in a tavern, for example, and there's a cat and the cat starts licking itself, it's a pre-scripted thing that the cat on a certain interval will start licking itself because that's what cats do, and they want to give the impression that that's a real cat, right? In Dwarf Fortress, a cat starts licking itself every once in a while, but a cat starts licking itself literally because the code running for that cat wants to clean itself. And sometimes that's based on time, but a lot of times that's based on the fact that there's something that's been spilled on the floor that the cat has walked through. And then there's a mechanic that has said, oh, the cat has made contact with this substance, and the substance has been added to the cat as a layer in code, as a layer, and the cat notices it, and that triggers the I want to be clean thing, so the cat starts licking itself. And this can cause all types of interesting things, like, for instance, this was actually an example that Tarn gave in another interview I read about a bug where cats were just vomiting everywhere, right? And the example was when you have emergent systems like that, which is one of the things that makes Dwarf Fortress amazing, right? But when you have emergent systems like that, a lot of times tracking down a bug, quote unquote, is very difficult because they eventually found out, I believe the bug was, it had nothing to do with the cat, and it had nothing to do with like the substance mechanics, and it had nothing to do with anything, and they had to track it all the way back until they found out that there was an issue that a dwarf would be, and they would have some time off, and they would want to go get a mug of ale, and they would get the ale, and halfway when they were done with the ale or so, another priority job would pop up that required them, so they would just drop the ale on the ground. Right? And so there was ale all over the fucking ground. And this isn't necessarily, it wasn't enough that it was visually displayed on the screen, but the systems knew about it, right? And so there were cats, and cats in Dwarf Fortress, cats are kind of more social than they probably are in real life. So they like to hang around the tavern because there's dwarves there. And so they would hang around and they would be walking through this ale constantly, and they would be licking themselves and getting drunk and vomiting all over the place. So this thing that where cats were vomiting everywhere came from this bug that was all the way over there. So getting back to the magic and myth thing, they want to do something where there are rules to magic, but those rules are somewhat procedurally generated, and therefore, because they're always different rules based on the world generation and myth generation, that they will work together and bounce off of each other in completely different ways, and you have to figure those out. I think one of the examples in the article, it's been a few days since I read it, but he gave the thing of, there may be a forest which is enchanted and there's tree spirits there, there, and because you go and start chopping down the trees, you piss off the tree spirits, and they get pissed off, and they change something, and suddenly a teleportation spell stops working in the world, right? Because that teleportation spell, whatever magic was causing that to work, was reliant, it was dependent on a specific type of magic which was coming from these tree spirits. That's amazing, and the most amazing thing is that those aren't set in stone, and you don't know when you actually generate the world what those are. So you kind of have to figure them out as you go along.
Yeah.
But yes, you're right. It sounds like the types of system which will completely change how Dwarf Fortress is played. Also, one of the things that they're adding, and I know I keep talking a lot, I apologize, is they're going to start allowing you to let groups of dwarves, you can send them off, and they will literally go out places, and you can send them on missions and stuff to go steal stuff,
finally.
Or scout stuff, which is awesome. Yeah. So
finally. I was so happy when RimWorld introduced that feature with the last update, Wanderlust. It has given the game a whole new life that you suddenly can just pack up your things, go somewhere. I mean, you can't do that yet in Dwarf Fortress, right? You could always, I think you could reclaim your fortresses if you lost them to some sort of catastrophe, send out a new expedition, try to take them back, and you could also take back fortresses that already existed. By the way, have we said what Dwarf Fortress is, or did we just assume that everyone knows?
No,
what
I
it
don't
is?
think so. You want to throw it out there?
Yeah, so Dwarf Fortress is a fantasy world simulator that has 3 modes: legend mode, an adventure mode, and a fortress mode. And
we do mean simulator, like probably the closest thing to an actual simulator of any game out there, maybe other than Aurora 4X. But anyway, actually, no, it's more fine-grained than Aurora 4X, but the scope is shifted as well. Yeah.
It is. So you start the game by sort of creating your own world, and then the game starts creating historical figures and the land masses and the biomes and all that kind of stuff. And you give it a certain period of time, and it creates the history of the world and all that stuff. Like, let's say it creates the world of Tolkien. And then you set out with your band of dwarves if you want to create a fortress, and you pick a place to settle, and then you start building your fortress. You mine into the mountain, you mine precious ores, you start brewing beer because dwarves like alcohol. They can't really get through the day without it. And then you start to trade with other dwarves, and you maybe fight some elves because the elves are tree lovers, and you really think that trees should go into the industry.
Fucking elves.
Yeah, and it's all very, very intricate. Like the level of detail is amazing, and the stuff that is being simulated. Like, for example, they went ahead and they are now simulating eyelids that are cleaning the eyes and the fluid, the eyes to sort of stop contaminants from getting in there. That's the level of
They're
detail.
completely out of control. Completely out of control. Dwarf Fortress is one of those things where you read certain interviews with the creator, which primarily is one guy. His brother helps, but he's the coder. He actually has a PhD in mathematics, if that isn't surprising. And a lot of times, like, you'll read, you'll be like, oh, they're simulating that just for the fuck of it, just for shits and giggles, right?
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, we want to, In fact, I think it was Tarn that actually went off and spent like a year and a half between updates, and when he came back, he had spent the entire year and a half building a bee system.
Yes,
like the system for like Harvard, like tending to bees.
Yes,
and it's extremely in depth.
Bees.
Yeah, no, really awesome stuff. What was I going to say? Oh, just one last thing before we jump off this. One of the other things that they mentioned, and we'll put the link in the show notes. I didn't actually put the links to the other stuff we talked about in the last show notes. I really need to. Wow. Anyway, so but they were talking about how they want to get the finally the ownership and property system in, which they haven't had for a long time. And one of the downsides of that is that they haven't actually been able to have much of a real economy, which has held them back on a lot of things. They actually had somewhat of an economy, but because they didn't have a good ownership system in place, it was a problem, and they had to take the majority of it out. So hopefully we're going to get down to that, which is awesome. But just to be clear, again, it's one guy. When we're talking about this stuff, like, we're talking probably the next, probably easily 3-4 years.
Yes,
this stuff's going to be rolling out slowly. Yeah,
I guess so. So the next thing has been worked on for a year, the whole myth creation and stuff thing. So it's going to be a chunky update. I'm looking forward to it.
Me too. I think it's going to be amazing. So System Shock 3 just got $12 million from, who was it?
Swedish publisher.
Swedes can't make games. What are you talking about?
Right. Starbreeze.
Oh yeah, Starbreeze. You know what's weird? I did not know Starbreeze was Swedish until this article.
Yeah, I didn't either. But I mean,
cool.
They're putting $12 million towards System Shock 3, which is being done by a team including Warren Spector and Terry Brosius, the voice of Shodan. So really cool.
God, I hope that's awesome.
Yeah. I hope they can bring in the magic. What was the last thing that Warren Spector did? Epic Mickey that fell flat on its face.
Really?
Wasn't it?
I did not. I did not know that it was Warren Spector. Wow.
Yeah, I think so.
Huh. Interesting.
I think it was Epic Mickey. Let me just.
Oh, okay. Cool. But yes, if done well, a System Shock 3 could be amazing.
Yeah, Epic Mickey. Yeah, but it's not going to come out for a while. It's in the early concept stages of development, so that means they have, I think, 2-3 years at least.
Yeah.
Ahead of them.
I don't know about the team, but as far as like another System Shock game, that's a pretty safe bet. I mean, $12 million for System Shock 3, even if it sucks, they're definitely going to break even on that at least before anyone finds out. So
yeah, you can cash in on the name once.
Yes, exactly. One time. I will let you, because as I said, I didn't read the article. I'll let you go over the Mass Effect Andromeda thing. But you should remember, my friend, that there are a lot of people out there who have not played Mass Effect Andromeda yet. And
I haven't either, actually. But
yes, we know that. We had a long conversation about it.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Right. No, I didn't. Yeah.
So, what does RPS have to say about?
Yeah, Rock
Mass
Paper
Effect
Shotgun
Andromeda?
really didn't like it. John Walker was furious with it. I've only
furious.
Yeah, he was.
Wow.
So the writing apparently is pretty bad, or let's say mediocre. For him, it was pretty bad. Comrades say a lot of obvious things like, "Oh, there are floating rocks there." Floating rocks there, and they're supposed to be explorers, right? They should say something else other than an alien ship. They should sort of have more curiosity.
Wow.
The combat gets pretty good grades, but that seems to be about it. Voice acting has been criticized for some characters as being stiff and wooden, and also the facial animations. So
really, that's unfortunate because it's using Frostbite, right?
Yeah, and interesting enough, in sort of doing landscape things and all that, it looks great, and then the character detail can sometimes look really weird. I don't know.
That's unfortunate.
I saw Total Biscuit put out a tweet where he said that this was actually not done by sort of the real BioWare team, by a sub-team of BioWare that had been doing mostly grunt work. They hadn't really put out a game on their own, but they'd been doing grunt work for other BioWare productions, and now they got to make this. I'm not sure why EA decided that this was a good idea, since they do belong to EA, and if they want to keep the franchise after, let's say, the ambiguous ending and reception of Mass Effect 3, they maybe should have put more effort in. I don't know. I'm gonna stay clear of it for now until the proper reviews are out and I can see clearer.
Well, I mean, it's only Mass Effect. It's not a huge deal. I mean, if you're gonna half-ass something, do it to Mass Effect, right?
Kill me. It's so sad. It's so sad.
So, do we want to move on to some games?
Yeah, why not?
I like
why
games.
Not? I mean,
of course, you have a lot more time to play games, so you have a lot more content here than I do.
Yeah, although you think that, but I'm pretty busy with the stuff that is sort of happening on the Let's Play channel, and I need to get a lot better with sort of ending series, because I play stuff not like for 10 or 20 episodes, but for 100, 150 episodes, and that takes a lot of time.
Have you ever considered that you may be an addict?
Yeah, and I need help.
You need help.
No one's helping me. Yeah, right.
Okay, we actually talked about Avorion. Is it Avorion?
Avorion.
Yeah. Okay, Avorion. That sounds cooler than Avorion. Avorion sounds like some medieval grand strategy game. But yes, I guess I'll start here. I actually picked up a copy of Day of Infamy, which I've been wanting. I'm a big World War II game fan. Day of Infamy is made by the group that did Insurgency. It reminds me of Red Orchestra, except that with Red Orchestra, you're like, Red Orchestra, they're going for as high realism as they think as you can get. I mean, Red Orchestra, you're like, I'm in a crater, I can't see over the edges, I'm fine, and suddenly you've been shot through the head, right? That's just pretty much like from like so far off you have. It's like, okay, it's total enemy at the gates. You just gone. This was not that bad, but it reminded me of that. If you were to take like Day of Defeat and mix it, like meet halfway with Red Orchestra, that's kind of what this felt like. There's a very minimal HUD. There's no ammo counters.
Mm-hmm.
You actually have to count your shots. sense. Yeah. They talk about in the tutorial how it's like pretty much required team play. And I think they mean more required team play like Natural Selection 2 is required team play. You don't have to play as a team to play, but you're not going to get fucking anything done hardly if you're not playing as a team. And there's actually they have a cool mechanic, which I love stuff like this. One of the classes, quote unquote, that you can play, they're not really classes, they're actually like military positions, which I guess are kind of like classes, but one of them is a radio man, right? And the radio man has a radio, and his whole thing is that there's an officer of each squad, and the officer can call in things like airstrikes and stuff, but only if the radio man is within a certain proximity to him. So as a radio man, like the whole thing is that you stick to your officer, period. That's the whole point. You're supposed to keep him alive and help him call in stuff. But what's also cool is that most of the maps have, specific objectives that you have to capture, right? Well, if the other team is capturing an objective, you don't know about it unless you're within proximity to your radio man or a radio man on your side.
Right. Okay.
Which is
that's
really cool. And also voice comms only work between people who are in a proximity to a radio man of a certain.
Okay.
I don't know how far. It's
I
kind
like
of interesting.
That.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah,
but
it's cool. I like that stuff.
Is it interesting to play as a radio man? I understand that he's useful to have around, but is it interesting to run behind the officer and have
think
the
that
radio
depends on
with
your personality. I have not actually played as a radio man because I haven't had that much time to play. I played the game like maybe an hour and a half. Actually, probably not even that much, about an hour. But I love roles like that. I actually like support roles. I've always liked playing like the engineer in Team Fortress and roles that are like supporting a push, but not actually in the push, because I find them, I think I find those roles a little bit more strategic. But yeah, no, I mean, it sounds like a cool role for me. I like that. But I like pretty much anything that takes, like, I mentioned it, I'm actually a fan of Natural Selection, which is actually, I think, one of the best mixtures of first person and RTS. And if you get with people on the team who know what they're doing and they care about what they're doing and working as a team, you can have some of the most amazing gaming experiences you've had, especially in a first person shooter in Natural Selection 2, right? Because there's a lot of strategy there. And if you have a commander that knows what they're doing. Yeah, so it's pretty interesting. I don't have that wasn't a review. That was just some interesting things I've seen about it, and I hope to see more. But and the flamethrowers are like awesome. The flamethrowers, as far as like Red Orchestra 2, are about what you know how like even in Battlefield 1, flamethrowers don't feel like they actually work as well as flamethrowers would work. Like you can hit a guy with a flamethrower in Battlefield 1 barely, and he's like, and if he jumps out of the way fast enough, he's like, oh, I'm good. Whereas like in this, like I ran through a whole house and took out like literally like 20 people with like a flamethrower, and like you hit them, they're like, and they're gone, which is really dark, I know. But as far as like accuracy, it's like if you have like, it's one of those things where you see a guy with a flamethrower, you run the other way, because if you miss, you're fucked. So that's nice.
But that's good actually. I like if it's high risk, high reward. Otherwise, why carry something with you that might explode at any time and take
exactly.
You with it?
Yeah, and actually you can shoot the thing on their back and they'll go up real fast.
Yes. Mm-hmm. I like games where you can do that. There was another game where you could do that. Well, I guess that's a pretty common thing where in games where you have flamethrowers, you have to have a way to disable them, I guess.
Yeah, of course, hitting the flamethrower on their back is difficult because there's no reticle at all. I should point that out. There's no reticle, so the only way for you to really aim is to use aim down sights, which of course they're going for realism, so it's not like shink and you're there. It's like shink and you pull it up and then you go down, and reloading like takes forever, right? And so, because it probably would have, these guys aren't special forces, right? And so, so anyway,
nice.
But yeah, it's an interesting game.
And that's World War II, right? Or one?
Mm-hmm. Two, World War II. Yeah.
Okay.
So, so interesting stuff.
Yeah, it is.
Yes, I think the rest of the stuff on our games stuff is all you.
Yeah, right. Okay, I'll do my best. So we're gonna have actually a pretty full week. I'm not sure if I should talk about Great Railroad already. That's gonna release on the 30th of March.
I think you mentioned that last week. Is that a Viking game?
Yeah, that is a Viking game. I did a sort of an early impressions Let's Try a while back, and they're gonna come out of early access on the 30th of March. So they're gonna sort of going to version 1.0. And
is it strategy or?
It's a mix. It's a strategy role-playing mix. So you take control over one clan, either a Danish clan. I think there are other storylines like the Frisians and the Saxons, and I think the English. I'm not sure. Yeah. So you have this clan, and you sort of have to to tell your people what they're gonna do through the year. So you tell X many people be hunters, and then you get some food out of this. You tell X many people become priests or go and collect berries or stuff, and then you go on the road with your longship, and you sort of go exploring the North Sea. You travel and you trade and you fight, and each of these clans has a different storyline. Why are you laughing? I can see you laughing.
I'm laughing because you said, and then you go on the road with your longship. I'm just visualizing this longship with big wheels on it. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
That's why the game is called the Great Whale Road, because
there you go.
The North Sea is sort of the road where all these guys meet, and and then you have turn-based tactical battles.
Oh, okay.
With cards.
Oh, so it's like a deck building type situation, or the more arbitrary draws or something?
Yeah, I think you can build a deck, and the people that you have with you actually sort of affect what kind of cards you get. You get them sort of randomly, and the last time when I played, you also got the people as cards. So you could only had a certain amount of your people when the fight began, and then you had to draw them to put them on the deck, which I found infuriating. They have changed the combat now, so I hope it's going to be less random.
Good.
Yeah. So, anyways, I put that on the list because I've been promised code for the 22nd, so Wednesday, and then I'm sort of going to dive in, and it's going to come out on the 30th. Viking thing. I always like Viking things.
Oh, I like the art style.
Yeah, it's really stylish, cool. Isn't it?
It reminds me of Banner Saga.
Yeah, indeed, it has, and it also has those beautiful traveling sequences, right? You are in your dragon boat, and you're moving between places, and you see your people rowing on the sea. It's really nice.
That's very cool. Yeah, that's very cool indeed. Cool. All right. Well, I'm gonna have to check that out myself. I need to start putting videos out again so that I can start asking people for code.
Yeah, why not? You could. Start.
I've thought about it. And they're going to go look. They're like, this guy's released like 3 videos in the last 6 months.
You could start doing some multiplayer with me.
I should. Actually, I would actually really like to play. Is it Avorion? Avorion.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. You said that correctly. Right. Yeah, it has a multiplayer thing. We could do that.
I'd like to play Avorion with you. That'd be awesome. Although Avorion, the problem is that when I was playing it, and I've actually watched some Let's Plays, and the one you linked me to, he cuts a lot of stuff out, and it's that type of game. Like, it's kind of like the reason why I stopped putting out Let's Plays for Minecraft is that if you want to do a 30-minute episode, you have to get like 2 to 3 hours worth of gameplay, and then you got to cut out so much shit, and it's like I don't do this full time. I can't do this full time. So you do it full time, but you're special and sexy and stuff. Anyway, all right.
I'm doing it yet.
Yeah. Battle Brothers?
Yeah, that's going to release on the 24th. That's been in early access for a long time, and it's gotten better and better. I've not played it yet, actually. I've been watching a bunch of Let's Plays, but I've been waiting until it's really finished. I've sort of made the mistake with Darkest Dungeon of getting in there too early, and then I did burn myself out a little bit with it. And when it then fully released, I sort of didn't jump back into it. So I promised myself that I'm gonna keep away from this. But it's gonna come out. So the story of this game is you take over the command of a mercenary company in a low fantasy world, and you can hire new mercenaries, you can equip them, you can level them up, and it's the right kind of game for having crazy narrative stuff. So from what I've seen, your people can be like possessed again, and then they're gonna have some creepy visions and stuff like that. And it's combined with a tactical combat, XCOM-ish.
Yeah,
pretty cool.
It looks interesting. Like the art's really like detailed and cool, and then it's hilarious because the actual representation of your people on the map are like little bobble people. They have like little round bottoms to them.
No,
but they're really detailed. Like the artwork's really detailed. It like messes with your head.
They're cut off like chess figures, right? You only see the head.
A lot of it's like down to the waist because like you can actually see their hands holding weapons and stuff. It's exactly. But yes, you're right. It reminds me of like a very ornate chess set. That's what it looks like. That's a good way to put it.
I mean,
that looks really interesting. I might have to try that out.
Yeah, it's great. I think Mathis picked it up, released a Let's Play episode yesterday or something. So I'm happy to see it get more exposure. I mean, the the smaller channels have been playing this stuff for a long time. I think I found it first through Daz Tactic, but I think bigger channels are also playing it, like Splattercat Gaming, and I'm hoping that it's getting another sort of publicity push when it's actually out. Looking forward to it. And you can name the mercenaries after people, so it's a nice way to sort of pull your subscribers into a game. I really like doing that in RimWorld and other things where it allows me to do that.
Very cool. Awesome.
Right. Yeah,
so have you been seeing any interesting shows or movies lately that you want to talk about?
Yeah, I've been watching Frontier with the wife, which is the lead role, or the lead star is Jason Momoa
from Stargate Atlantis. I know. He got big from Stargate Atlantis.
Yeah, and then he played Khal Drogo in Game of Thrones.
Yeah, but that was just a minor role. Stargate Atlantis, that was his big role.
Yeah. I watched stuff of that, although I mainly watched Stargate, and then I was too cool.
SG-1?
Yeah.
Actually, Atlantis was actually pretty damn good.
Yes, my brother watched that. I never really got into it.
A good friend of mine was on like 2 episodes. She was like small beans at the time, and now she's big beans. So she's actually the lead female agent in Sleepy Hollow.
Nice.
Janina. Yeah.
She's nice. Really cool. You really know people, Spot.
She actually did the intro voice for my first podcast years ago, and so it was called Massive Radio, and the intro had music, blah blah blah, and she was like, "You're listening to Massive Radio," but it was in a nice girl voice instead of my voice. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Why did you go for the girl voice though? Wouldn't it be way better if you had Massive Radio? Must be.
Yeah, I think most gamers would prefer the hot chick voice than my voice. So, or even your voice. Yeah, because I talk to her every once in a while. We both. I'm the one that originally introduced her to the book American Gods by Neil Gaiman, and is it Starz or Showtime? It's Starz is about to release the American Gods series. So I messaged her on Twitter, and I'm like, "Did you see this? Did you see the trailer?" And she's like, "It looks so good." I'm like, "Yeah, blah blah blah." But I've actually thought about asking, like, when we actually get like an intro music thing worked out for this scene. Hey, for old time's sake, you want to record me a little intro voiceover for our show? That would be cool.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, but it was cool because back then she was like still like doing tiny little things, and then she got a role for several seasons on The L Word. I don't know if you remember, it was on Showtime, and then was on a bunch of stuff, and then landed the lead in Sleepy Hollow last year. Really cool. She's doing awesome.
Nice.
And she sings too. She has several albums.
Holy cow, multi-talent.
Oh yeah, very much so. And I don't remember what we were talking about on that.
Jason Momoa getting up there in Stargate, and then you...
oh, yes. And she was on several episodes of that, yes. But right. Stargate Atlantis was really great. Like, the ground stuff was pretty interesting, but the space stuff was really cool because they encounter a whole new race of things called the Wraith. Anyway, you should totally watch it. It's good.
Yes, it's still watchable with the dialogue and stuff. I gotta look it up. Maybe I watch it, and we can talk about it.
Yeah. No, it's great. So how do you like Frontier? What's it about?
Yeah, it was average. Sadly, I really was.
That's what it looked like to me. I haven't watched it, but I looked at a few things on it, and I'm like,
I had high hopes for it because the theme is pretty nice, right? You have the Hudson Bay Company vying for control of the fur trade from Canada with other fur trading companies.
Oh, I remember. Okay, yeah. The synopsis is coming back to me.
Right, Jason Momoa is the protege of the head of the Hudson Bay Company, but he's gone rogue. He's gone wild. He married an Indian woman, and now he's sort of actively fighting against the Hudson Bay Company.
Gotcha.
But it's the landscapes are nice, but it's all very standard, right? The evil people are evil because they're evil.
Yeah.
Persons are loyal to the Jason Momoa character because he just inspires loyalty for some reason. Not that he does anything that really creates that.
I hate stuff like that.
It's let's say it's executed competently, but at a mediocre level. Sadly.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people put a lot of work in it from the looks of it, but yeah.
Well, whatever the nicest thing someone can say about your show is, the landscapes are really nice.
I mean, they're doing all right. The actors are doing well, but it was over really quickly. I mean, they had like 6 episodes, all 50 minutes, and then it was the cliffhanger where I felt like, why did you stop here? You haven't earned a cliffhanger. Give me something, and then you can give me a cliffhanger. Like,
you haven't earned a cliffhanger.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm gonna take that little thing and I'm gonna put it in the "I will allow you to pee" category for Horath Drak.
Are these things getting collected somewhere in the dark corner of the internet?
Speaking of mediocre, my fiance and I have been watching the Iron Fist, or just Iron Fist. I don't know what it's called. It's a stupid name. I know it's from a comic. I know.
Okay. Fill me in.
I'm one of those people who it takes a lot for me to go, I just don't believe this. This is just stupid. I mean, really, like, I know a lot of people are like that. I'm just like actually, you and I both watched Linus Tech Tips, right? A lot. And on one of the WAN shows, Linus finally saw Rogue One. And he's going on and on and on about these stupid things and how they don't make sense, and about how if that droid's so powerful, why doesn't the Empire just have so many of that droid? And how you only saw 5 X-Wings going through the shield thing. Now, why are you seeing like 6 or 7 now? And I'm going, you do understand this isn't Star Trek, it's Star Wars, right? I mean, like, it's sci-fi fantasy. It's you can't be weird about it. Whatever. I'm not that type of person at all, right? I can be very accepting. This is just like, the guy's like, I don't know if you know anything about it.
Nope, I have not seen anything.
Okay, long story short, his parents were ridiculously wealthy. They had this thing called the Rand Corporation. Their last name is Rand, and they all die in a plane crash over the Himalayas. But he doesn't die. Everyone thinks he's dead for like 15 years. He gets taken in by these monks, which don't exist. And I mean, not on our plane of reality, right? And then he comes back after 15 years, and no one believes he's alive. And his father's partner, who's dead, spoiler alert, not actually dead. You find that out really fast. His children, who this guy played with when they were kids, are running the company, and they don't think he's blah, 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 blah. And he has like, and I guess this is acceptable, like, I try to give the benefit of the doubt. I mean, the guy's been away from actual society for like 15 years, so maybe his people skills aren't that great. But again, he hasn't been like alone in the wilderness. He's been with a bunch of monks, warrior monks, and in another dimension. But he just cannot stop telling people that he was with a bunch of warrior monks in another dimension, even when he's in a mental institution. And his doctor has done enough research to find out that actually, maybe he's not crazy. He probably is Danny Rand. And he's like, oh, thanks, great. This is all really great when I was in that other dimension, blah, 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 blah. And his psychiatrist is like, okay then. And you're like going, dude. And that stuff, I guess I could let go, blah, blah, blah. But like Fim, like a lot of the stuff we watch, she starts watching ahead of me because she has time to binge on it, and I don't, right? So I'm only like 4 episodes in, and she's been watching them. And like last night I'm working, and I walk into her bedroom to say something to her, and she's watching it, and suddenly he's in a fight with the bad guy, and suddenly he's been like this. He's called Iron Fist because when he gets really mad or something, it's not really a Hulk thing. It's kind of like when he feels pain or something, his fist literally glows, and it's like indestructible for like a temporary amount of time. And he's fighting the bad guy, who's a normal human for the most part, and suddenly he's getting knocked over. I mean, he's this like massive martial artist, right? This guy's like a massive, I mean, takes on like 10, 15 people at a time, like trained security people at a time. And suddenly the bad guy, and he's like getting hit by things, and I mean, like, and you've seen him for like 10 episodes where he's like dodging bullets and all this shit. And suddenly they need him to seem weak against the bad guy, who's a normal human, by the way, significantly older than him. And he's like hitting him with stuff and hitting him in the stomach with a pole. And you're going, really? Come on, seriously? And so, when we hit that type of thing, also, I just couldn't, going back to the whole thing, I'm very accepting of things. I couldn't get over the whole thing of like, he says it too much. He's like, but I am the Iron Fist. And I'm like, dude, we get it. It sounds stupid. Stop saying it. Anyway, that's my review of the Iron Fist. I'm sure a lot of people out there who like it aren't going to like that, but you know what you guys should do if you don't agree with me, or if you do, you should send us an email to comments@localgods.net.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Can I make 2 comments?
Please.
One, seems a very common problem that all movies with fighting scenes have, that the hero has to be believably weak enough to be beaten up at first, to then have a big comeback and then best the evil person X. And
which somewhat that makes more sense than this though, because in that case you can say, oh, they're inexperienced, and then they go and they learn, and they usually too fast, right? And they do this stuff and then come. No, this guy started out a ridiculous badass. I mean, like, there is this point in like the first or second episode where one of the girls sees him almost get hit by a taxi cab because it takes place in New York, and he literally flips over the entire fucking car. Okay, that's the level of shit we're talking. He literally like climbs up the outside of a skyscraper. newspaper. Okay,
Yeah,
all
why not?
Spider-Man like.
Why not? I
That's
do
the
that
type
every
of thing.
day.
And then they go to this whole thing. Oh, he's in a fight with a normal human bad guy, and the guy's beating the shit out of him. Like, really? Please continue with your second comment.
Yeah, that seems a problem of the basic premise of this thing, right? You made him too powerful from the beginning. The second comment that I want to make is I can't remember who it was, but I read a book about writing books and how you construct them, and there was the law of the maximum capacity of a person in a work of fiction, which basically means that every person in that book should be believable in his or her choices.
Right, yeah.
That with the mental institution, that clearly violates the law of the maximum capacity of the protagonist, because at some point he should go like, oh, talking about the secret warrior monks seems to get me into trouble. Maybe not do that anymore.
Yeah. Now, I will admit there is a scene not too long after he finally gets out, which, by the way, he does by using his iron fist to literally knock an entire steel door out of a concrete wall.
Obviously.
That when he's sitting down with someone and they're like, so where have you been? Blah, blah. He actually says, you know what, I'd tell you, but everyone always thinks I'm crazy when I say it. And I'm like, finally, that took you fucking way too long, man.
Right. Okay. So they get it eventually. That's good.
Eventually.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes me happy.
So maybe there's potential. I don't know. Cool. So we're over time at the moment anyways, but I think we've done a lot better this episode than last one on time. So that's awesome.
Yeah, I think so. How are people going to find you? What do you do?
I'm Spotnik on Twitter and on YouTube.com, although there's not a lot of content on YouTube.com, but please go there and subscribe anyway, because there will be, and that would be great. And you?
Yeah, I do Let's Play and tutorial and stuff on my YouTube channel, Horath Drak, and I'm also on Twitter at Horath Drak, and Horath spelled with a TH at the end and a K. I'm pretty sure you find me. It's in the show notes.
HORATHDRAK for all you non-German speaking people.
Join me for RPG and strategy Let's Plays, and maybe some of
Yeah, he's really good at it. He's a lot better at it than I am, actually. Awesome. Cool. Yes. If you'd like to contact us, comments at localgods.net. If you go to localgods.net, there's not actually a website there yet. Working on that. It's not of high importance at the moment, but and you should be able to. But by the end of the day of today, not by the time you hear this, but now you should be able to find us on all the major podcast platforms for the most part. And yeah, that's really about it. If you have again suggestions, recommendations, comments, or just want to be mentioned on the show, as I said last week, a great thing about sending feedback to a brand new show is that there's limited amount of feedback, so you have a higher chance of getting mentioned on the show, which would be really cool.
Yes, go there, write a review, follow us, do all the things.
Also, if you think that there's any games that we would like and would actually find interesting to discuss, please let us know, because we're always looking for recommendations there as well. So, indeed. All right, well then we will see you next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.